Paulie here on the Latino Slant. If this is your first time hanging out with us, know that we have all kinds of playlists on entertainment from Hollywood as well as just an ongoing playlist of Indian cinema reviews, of full films out of the theater, also trailer reactions. And we're so glad that you are here. So, yeah, make sure you are subscribed because there's a lot of you that still aren't. And then this is a very special video today. Really, I can break this down into two photos of the same actor. And with that, it's gonna we're gonna talk a lot about the two different uh, aspects of this film. And what film am I talking about, Polly? Well, it is the 2021 film called SARDAR UDHAM. SARDAR UDHAM is a 2021 Hindi language film, biographical historical drama directed by Sujit Sikar and produced by Rising Sun Films in collaboration with Kino Works and Amazon Prime. So, yeah, yeah, wow. It runs about two hours and 45 minutes, I believe. That's the runtime, and this is a an intense drama, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's give a little bit more information as far as what this story is all about. It follows Sardar Udham Singh, who had assassinated Michael O'Dwyer, the former lieutenant governor of Punjabi, in British India in 1940 to avenge the 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Now, those are the historical footnotes, and as history goes, when you're reading history, and especially when it's history from far, far away and from a while back, there is a disconnect. You're reading it as a student and not someone necessarily who has any emotional ties besides, maybe the numbers. And yeah, the numbers here in that massacre were real. Thousands of people were massacred by the British, uh, by the British forces. So that's the history. Now, what's great is when film can capture the essence of the history emotionally, we can connect to that data, connect to those numbers, connect to the the people that are just names and footnotes in something that's written in a history book. In a sense, you've heard it before. It makes history come alive. So, what I want to do is, I want to bring up a photo of the lead actor, and this really, this really kind of encapsulates um, the first part of this film. The actor is Vicky Kaushai. Now, yes, this actor won several awards. The film won several awards. There was some controversy. Why it didn't get nominated for an Academy Award? I'm not going to get into that. What I want to get into is the emotional performance that this man gives, and I want to talk about how making historical licenses in a dramatic film is sometimes a must. So, what we have here is a very clean cut looking um, Sardar at the beginning of this film. And honestly, at the beginning of this film, within the first 25 minutes, he he commits the assassination. He kills the former governor right away. And you're wondering, well, what's the next 2 hours about? What's the two next hours about? I will tell you that this director has a way with camera work, with his filter, and with his relationship to the story where, and I've seen clips of his other films a little bit. to where there is no hyper reality. There's nothing pretty, even though some of the actors might be good looking. There's nothing pretty about this reality that he's set. Yes, it's beautiful to watch. The cinematography is fantastic, but there's a certain documentary feeling to it. There's a certain feeling that the director wants you to have throughout the film as a witness to this bloody history, a witness to this man. And what this first part of this movie does, for me at least, is makes me see that this man has a dark, driven force behind him to commit murder. And you're just wondering why. Why is this guy so doggedly just unapologetic about his beliefs in freedom and independence for India and committing this crime? So he, the movie is goes back and forth in English and Hindi because they are in Britain a lot, as in the 30s and 40s, and so storytelling, what what we see is, like I said, is the assassination, and then the director kind of goes back in time, but there's literally almost three different timelines going on. There's a present where he's being interrogated after the killing. There's him as a younger man, I would say in the 19s. Then there's his time in the 30s, running in the 20 in the late 20s, early 30s, running away, from India to Russia, and finally to Britain. So there's all these timelines going on, and it works for two reasons for me. Reason one, it's just on him. There's not the story, the director doesn't throw you an ensemble cast where you have to follow along different people. It's just him and Vicky's performance that you're following. And so that works. So the chaos is too kept down to a minimum in storytelling. A lot of the times, when you're telling a true story and you're trying to be creative with the timeline, you sometimes actually lose the audience because you're trying to be too much with the story. This is not the case here. This is not the case here. In fact, it's the opposite. It takes its time because we need to see this man's growing hatred for the British, for this man. And like I said, he's got one purpose, and that's to kill this dude. And he just says, I did it. Give me the bullet, hang me, do what you got to do. I've done what I need to do. So you're just like, what's going on? And I also want to say right now at this time that I know there's been some comments, which I appreciate, of it being historically inaccurate. They've taken some liberties. Every biopic does that. What I'm getting here is this man's agitation and complete despair in the situation that was brought upon him, molded by the occupying British imperial government. So um I got that, and it works because of Vicky's performance, who, like I told you, has won several awards, and that is the main force. He is the main force behind this film working. And like I said, yes, it's shot well. Shujet is an incredible director, but it's really Vicky who is almost in every scene, almost in every scene. So really, that is the first part. I would say more than the first part. I would almost say the first 2 hours of this film. We are kind of go back and forth, and it's not until the end of the film, towards, like, say, the last hour, 45 minutes, that we live the horrors of this massacre. Now, before I switch photos, I want to make sure that you guys are commenting. Let me know what you think. I also want to thank all my Indian, friends and people who have been watching all my videos on Indian cinema, I want to thank you for not letting me forget this film. They're like, "Hey, Paulie, have you finished Sardar? Have you finished Sardar?" It's like I'm gonna get to it, and I always said I just can't finish it. Right? It's like there's something about the beginning of this movie that I was just like, okay, is it gonna be like this? And that was to my own fault. And thank God I saw this whole film because it is it is a very un-Bollywood like film. It is truly just a unique take on a biopic. And like I said, with that creative timeline, with this gentleman being the lead actor, it is really something to behold. And I've seen Vicky in a couple other films, but this film is just yeah, it's a shining moment for this man's career. Now, I wanted to share a comment with you from one of the actors in the film, Amol Parashar, and he says Sadar Urham is an achievement in filmmaking, especially in terms of overturning how we tell stories about our past and the freedom struggle in our country. Amul Parashar, who played Bhagat Singh. Okay, now Bhagat Singh is one of the heroes that was exalted in the closing um, video performance, the closing song in RRR, where he shows all these freedom fighters. Bhagat was one of the first ones in that montage. Bhagat was Sardar Udham's. He looked up to him, even though he was younger than him. Bhagat was this very charismatic young leader who died when he was 23. So we get to see him a little bit. He's in a few scenes. Very charismatic, great role. Um, you you get the eloquence, the fight, the intelligence, and the confidence of this man who's inspiring all these other freedom fighters to kind of go along with him. And Sardar is one of them. Now, so I wanted to share that with you, and I want to talk about the last 45 minutes of this film. And I was trying to think of what is a cinematic feat where I can compare it to. And if anything, it is the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I believe, of Saving Private Ryan, where we are almost a part of that squadron that lands with Tom Hanks and, takes the beaches of Normandy. Most of us hopefully may have seen that first 20, 25 minutes and how jarring it is, how just harrowing it is. This last 40 minutes, 45 minutes is that and more. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about that the filmmaker decides to go ahead and show the massacre. And unlike this has been in film before, and the only film that I've seen is the 1981 film Gandhi, where they show it very briefly, very briefly. But I kind of remember some of the lines and some of the things were the same how they showed it in Gandhi, and I was like, oh man, yeah, okay. But here, Udham is we we follow him, we follow him, and I'm gonna bring this photo up. This is the same actor, and this is him. As far as after the day and night that he spent during the massacre. Now, in the storyline, in this movie, he is late for the protest. Sorry, honey, I fell asleep. I didn't make the protest. His girlfriend or friend, that's someone that he really liked, was at the protest along with a lot of other of his brothers from the orphanage that he is from. So before he wakes up and realizes what has happened, we see all the shooting, and it's very graphic. It's very gory. It's very shocking. The director does not hold back, so full warning on that, guys. Now, when he wakes up, because one of his brothers comes in with a bleeding, with another bleeding brother, and I think they took him to a hospital, but that makes him go into quick action. So what does he do? He goes there. He goes to the massacre that has happened to find his lady friend, his girlfriend. We'll just say his girlfriend. And every time he tries to find her, he finds a surviving living person, a young girl, an old man, a mother, a boy, a homeless child, one after the other. He saves them. Now, and I don't know if this actually happened. Like if UDHAM did this, it doesn't matter because someone that was there during the massacre in real life did this. And I think that is why this director put this in there, because maybe he took liberties with that, but that's the whole point, is that this character was radicalized, heavily radicalized after the trauma of this moment. And that the British, so heartless and cruel in that moment, didn't offer any medical assistance to the thousands, excuse me, the hundreds that were injured and bleeding to death. I mean, really, I will put a link to the historical reference, but let's get back to this emotional cinematic ride. So what happens is that he every time he goes back looking for his girlfriend, there's a new person, there's a new person. There's so many more that are moaning and groaning, I'm here, I'm alive. He grabs a cart and he starts putting these people on the cart. And he's taking them to makeshift hospitals. To finally, there's a doctor, there's a hospital, one after the other, and you're experiencing it. I experienced it as if I was there. It was so draining, so emotional, so exhausting. I was like, when is this hell going to end? And that is the point. Again, with this director, he did not want this hell to end until you felt what every Indian felt at that time. Probably the descendants of their, because this is now 100 years, so there's descendants in that town of Amritsar that still feel the ramifications of this to this very day. It is just bulldozed in the last 40 minutes. It is, I've never seen anything like that. Do I wish that it had got that we had gotten sooner there? Yeah. Do I wish it was a little shorter of that montage? Perhaps, perhaps. So maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes could have been 2 hours and 15. But that's just me. Then when we're done with this harrowing scene, we go back to present time where he's gonna be hung. Where even though that there's sympathy for him, and in the press with Indian and British sympathizers, he is eventually hung. Um, and at that time, the leaders of India condemned him, but later on, he's been canonized to a higher level in India. So really, that is my review, guys. That is my review. I want to know what you guys think. I'm so glad I got to see this drama. I'm so happy to see a performance like Vicky's, an actor who can. He's a fantastic leading man, but who is just so quiet and so strong in his performance. And then, as a younger person of himself, so innocent, and that innocence is lost overnight. Yeah. And like I said, the director knows what he's doing because he's taken us for a harrowing ride. And it's not just like, here the historical character does this, then that, then this. It's very unique. It's very unique, and it won all those awards, and it's just. So that is my review of Sadar Urham from 2021. You can watch on Amazon Prime. I recommend it, and take those breaks when you need to, and know that it is highly graphic towards the end. And hit me back. And thank you so much. Don't forget to catch our all our Indian playlists, Indian cinema. And the next time I see you, I want you to keep your slant fuerte. In Spanish, that means strength. So wherever you're at, keep your slant fuerte. Viva India.